How you doing, everyone? My name is Ryan, and this is Ade, and here we go with another edition of Box Talk. Today, the Sheriff of Nottingham, Carl Froch, takes on George St. Groves. Big British fight. How's it going to work out? Is it too soon for Groves, or is Froch on his way down? What's going to happen, Ade?
You know, I've got like my two hats on here. I'm a massive Carl Froch fan. I've got my massive Carl Froch fan hat that says Carl Froch wipes the kid out in 3-4 rounds, like he done Booty, like he done Mac, who I think personally are better fighters than George Groves. But then I've got my boxing hat on, and this is BoxTalk. And my boxing hat and says, as Ryan's always taught me, styles make fights. And although Carl Froch has only lost two fights, but one he avenged, the guys that have caused him problems, so they say, are movers. Guys with good feet, good hand movement. George Groves probably falls into that. Does he fall into the top echelon of that? I don't think so. But nevertheless, he falls into that. He's younger, he's hungrier. Carl Froch knocks him out 5 rounds.
Again, you're right. Groves is a good fighter.
Yeah.
I think he hasn't mixed it up world class, or I don't think he's prepared for the level he's stepping up to.
Yeah.
But stylistically, he can move.
Yes.
He can punch. He knows how to use his jab.
Yeah.
Even though he has a funny style reminiscent of David Hay, I think his trainer, who is his ex-trainer, gave him that style. I think he's revert from that style, because having that hands low and kind of cocky swagger is not going to really help him with Carl Froch. However, like Ade, I think it's one of those fights there, whereas unless Froch kind of gets old, I think Froch is going to stop him. I mean, I don't want to say it will be early or late, but more likely early than late.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when you look at these matchups, you get these programs that almost they give the challenger a chance. They kind of show all the faults of the older Froch and this, and Froch was doing the ITV dancing show. Is his legs going to be weak? Yeah. We've seen Carl Froch. Yeah. Carl Froch is I think the most meticulous boxer there is in British boxing right now. He writes down everything. He runs, he jogs, he swims, he cycles. He writes on everything. And I think Carl Froch knows as well. Remember, Carl Froch, although he's been around, he's 35, 36. He really has only come to the fore in the last 4 or 5 years in terms of getting, he's rightfully, to me, getting the plaudits.
So what people say as well, people say, Froch had a lot of hard fights. Yes and no. You know, he had a lot of hard fights recently because he's fought at a higher level. But Froch's fights before 2008, 2009 were at a lower level, and he was normally blowing guys out relatively easy. He was not taking a lot of beatings. So if you look at the way people say Froch is old and had a lot of wear and tear, it's not really too true. It's basically after the Super 6.
Yeah.
But if you look at Super 6, he took no damage in he took a lot of damage in the Kessler fight, but he took no damage in the Arthur Abraham fights.
Yeah.
So people are assuming that he's had all this hard, brutal run. I mean, if you look at the Mac fight, look at the Booty fight, it was nothing really.
Even
much.
Andre Ward's not a concussive puncher, so he didn't take much from there.
So people saying that he's been through a hard road. He's been through a hard road and he's fought the best people available, but he's not had a hard wear and tear on his body, except for really the Kessler fights.
Yeah, and Froch has got a lot to lose if he loses his fights. I mean, it's almost weird because we're talking about the guy that's probably the pinnacle in terms of British fights. To me, he's a top 10 pound for pound in the world. So he's definitely British #1 pound for pound. And he's probably got 2 or 3 big fights left. Yeah. You know, I mean, they're talking about GGG possibly in the summer. GGG definitely can come up and wait. Andre Ward rematch. Kessler again in the neutral ground. It will sell out easy. It might not be the fight the fans want, but in terms of where it is, it will sell out or make him money. He's got a lot to lose. I think George Groves hasn't. Now, everyone says that George Groves got a lot to lose. He hasn't got a lot to lose.
I think we have to look at the history of this fight a little bit more before we say what George has and what Froch does have it as well, because first of all, this fight was not on the scorecards to be made until next year. This fight was mandated, so Froch had no choice but to defend his title against him,
unless he wanted to relinquish.
He didn't relinquish. They're both at the same promoter, Matchroom Sports, who just took on Groves, who was building Groves up for a potential Froch fight. So this fight has kind of been thrown onto both of them in a sense. Whereas I don't think none of them believed that fight was going to happen so soon if it weren't for the sanctioning bodies.
Yeah, it's almost like. It's like a British super fight, and it mimics in so many ways the super fight we saw recently with Mayweather Alvarez, in terms of the young up and coming guy that eventually probably might be able to beat Froch in a year's time, but not right now, and the older Froch that I think will just be a bit too much, like what Mayweather was with Canelo. You've got a young guy that's coming up, and you've got the old guy that no one knows yet if they're on the way down. And I think Froch is similar to Mayweather in that he's so meticulous, and what he does, he won't allow. I don't see how Groves actually beats him. I don't see what he beats him with.
No, I get that. You could say in theory by movement and jabbing and running, but Froch cuts you down, and that's what he does all the time. Yeah, you have never seen Froch ever been in a sense out of position in a sense, whereas he is there. He's there to be hit because he's actually coming at you constantly. George Groves got another problem I think in this fight is the change of trainer.
Yeah.
I mean, Adam Booth was his trainer, now he's got Franny Smith, and I don't want to criticise Franny Smith or anything, but this is a marquee fight. It's the biggest fight of your career. Do you really want having a trainer coming in at short notice so you have to get a repertoire and learn and go for certain things with him at this point in his career?
You listen to a lot of the people that were talking about this fight, a lot of the comments from fans and media, and one thing they were saying is that Adam Booth might find a way to win. They weren't saying George Groves will find a way. So Adam Booth will find a way to win. He'll find a style. He'll do something.
A quirk.
He'll find something. You know, Adam Booth has got that kind of thing about him. And I think to lose Adam Booth is massive.
Yeah.
I don't think it's been talked about as much in the media. For some reason, it hasn't been talked about at all. Adam Booth has stayed away from the media. He's not really mentioned nothing. George Groves, we know, hasn't really mentioned anything. So it's been really quiet to the point where people thought it was some sort of conspiracy theory or a joke.
No, let's be fair. George Groves didn't mention it. Carl Froch released the press saying, look, you ain't really training no more, and kind of gave him the inside scoop.
Yeah.
Groves was not going to mention it originally.
For me, I look at George Groves, and again, I'm not saying he's a bad boxer. He's not. He's unbeaten. He's had a couple of good wins. Tagel was a good win. Glenn Johnson, even though it was out of retirement, regardless, it's still a good win. Glenn Johnson will still cause a lot of problems.
Yeah.
I just think that there's a level below that I'd like to see him take on before. Alpha Abraham, maybe. Stieglitz, maybe. Even I'd like to see him, maybe even a Saki Obika, strong people. Yeah. I think there's about 3 or 4 super middleweights that are above him right now, and Carl Froch to me is on that top table with Andre Ward.
See, you could look at people that you mentioned, like I said, like Stieglitz, like Abrams, like Beaker, and you could say Groves has got a chance to beat them because they're not as much as an athlete, not as much as fluid, not as much. You can see there's flaws in them which are clearly obvious. Where everyone's trying to rely that Carl Froch is getting older and he's kind of slow and ungangly and all these words they say about it. But then if you look at solid boxers, look at the Kessler fight, he said you're surprised how fast Froch can actually catch you and how long his reach is and certain things. But you look at it and think, he can't pull that on me. But he goes and pulls it on people all the time. I mean, Booty, in a sense, opted to come over here to fight Froch. He thought he was going to come over here and outbox this guy. And if you look at any Booty fight before the Froch fight, we also Booty started, guess what? Booty's going to come out here and try to do a number on Froch. And it was a blowout. If you watch if you don't know boxing, you don't watch boxing, Booty's a fluid, smooth fighter. You know what I mean? Beautiful to watch. And he was so confident in what he was going to do. And he done this.
Remember, I said it to you, Ryan. I remember, even now when I watch it back, I say, oh my God, Booty's foot movement is just immense. Yeah. The way he slides around the ring, it's almost like he's gliding around the ring. But it's Froch, and he said the same thing. He said, as soon as I land one, and Froch isn't this one KO puncher, but he seems to have this concussive punch that you feel it for round after round after round. And I look at George Groves and I look at what are his weaknesses for me, and I've seen him been put down by Kenny Anderson. Even before he stopped Paul Smith, I saw Paul Smith catch him with a couple as well. He can be caught, and when he does get caught, he doesn't seem to know what he's doing. And
you know, it's rumours, but your head's been dropped a lot of times in sparring. You put that in sparring as well.
A lot of times. You heard about Chrissy Ray Jr. Not dropping him, but giving him problems in sparring. Carl Froch has said already that he hit him down with 12-inch gloves, put him down in sparring. So I think once you knock someone down in sparring, psychologically, it gives you super confidence. And Carl Froch right now, to me, is riding a wave of super confidence.
If anyone sparred out there, you know what it's like. Sparring is more about gauging your time and your distance and practicing different things. So you're not really going full force. If you're practicing and timing and working out little tweaks in your style and you're dropping guys, that's not really a good thing for the person that's getting dropped.
Okay, alright, so predictions. What do you think? What happens?
I think Froch wins this fight.
Yeah.
I can't see really how Groves takes it. He will make it difficult. He will try box and keep his distance, keep his range. But I think once Froch gets up into that mindset, start pushing the pressure on him, I think similar to Booty, once the big shots start coming in, it's going to go downhill for Groves.
What round are we talking?
I don't think it'll go past the middle rounds.
So
I don't think it'll.
You don't think it'll go 6 or 7?
I think 6 or 7, which I think will be more likely to go through. I don't think it'll be a knockout one punch. I think it'll be similar to Booty again, on the ropes, flurry of punches, and the ref or his corner saves him.
Okay, cool. Same here. I think I joked earlier and said Froch will knock him out in round 5. I wasn't joking. I think Froch will knock this guy out in round 5. I think they're I wouldn't say they're levels apart, but there's definitely a gap between the standards of both fighters in terms of Froch's resume compared to Groves' resume. And it's not just so much Froch's resume, it's what Froch has done to those fighters as well. Yeah. I go for Froch. But again, guys, what do you think? I mean, this is probably the biggest, probably the last big blockbuster British fight of the year now. Yeah. What do you think? Who wins? Froch, Groves. If you think Froch wins, what round does he win? Does Groves cause the upset? Come and hit us. Email us at
BoxTalk@hotmail.co.uk.
And guys, thanks for tuning in for another edition of Box Talk.